Now, from Wish TV, your local news source, this is All Indiana Politics.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Phil Sanchez. Let's start with the looming Supreme Court decision on abortion. The court has confirmed it will issue at least one opinion on Monday. The Supreme Court never tells in advance what case rulings will be issued, and most observers expect the abortion decision to come in June, near the end of the session. So what will happen in Indiana if Roe versus Wade is overturned? Our Garrett Berquest took questions directly to Attorney General Todd Rokita.
Well, I think we'd enforce them just like we do any other laws in the state of Indiana. You know, the point of the matter is that this decision is nothing to be scared of. And the reason is because you're moving the decision from 7 people in black robes. And in fact, in 1973, it was 7 men in black robes to a debate now amongst your elected representatives, when you're going to have men, women, all of us on different sides of that debate in the General Assembly discussing the points, and that's a good thing.
What if Roe v. Wade is overturned, but then there is no special session, we wait till January? Is there a potential action out of your office in the meantime?
Oh, I'm not a lawmaker, so I don't think there would be an action out of my office. There's nothing really to act on, in the sense that the Supreme Court's only saying that the constitutionality of the right to an abortion in our Constitution is not there. And so the decision on when life begins and when to enforce a murder statute, basically, falls back to the state.
Some of the people who are concerned about this have said that the logic that was used in Roe was also used for other rulings, such as Obergefell. Do you agree with that?
Well, again, we'll have to wait and see what the actual opinion says. This was a draft opinion, but the draft opinion to me was clear, as I read it, that it just pertained to life. And the court, the majority of the members on the court, made a very clear distinction on that judicial precedent. So I would expect that if that was the same final opinion, that it would just pertain to the life issue.
Would there potentially be prosecution of somebody who goes into, say, Illinois to obtain abortion services?
Well, I think when you let the decision rightfully come back to the state, whether it's the issue of life or any other issue, it's going to allow for federalism, and that means states will tackle the issue differently. And so if you physically go to another state, no, I don't see the long arm of Indiana in that sense coming after you. But again, I'm not a lawmaker.
That might say, the LGBTQ rights are next. That's an argument that I'm seeing.
Well, I think that, as I said earlier, like the idea that you're going to have this decision decide other social issues is unlikely. The court's never acted that way before. And again, when you read this draft opinion, to the extent it's the same as the permanent, what will be the permanent opinion, whatever that is, it's been pretty clear in the draft opinion that this just pertains to life. Still, I hope the Supreme Court and particularly lawmakers keep working on these other social issues, because there's an economic element to all these social issues too.
Given how far we are from the border, why get the state of Indiana involved?
Yeah.
Why not?
It's a good question. No, let me just say this: every state is a border state when you're talking about a border that's not being enforced. For example, for Indiana, it only takes 48 hours for an illegal alien to cross the border to be inside our state line, bringing fentanyl, bringing additional crime, bringing sex trafficking and other human trafficking right inside the state of Indiana. And you don't have to believe me. You can ask any sheriff, any chief of police in a city. I've been to their conventions, I've asked them, I've spoken with them, and they're very concerned. And there's been an increase since January of 2021, which is when the new administration took over, and it's when the border stopped being policed.
Do you have numbers to back that up, as opposed to anecdotal evidence of this?
Well, if it happens to one person, isn't that enough? But yeah, I mean, we collect numbers from ICE. We're working with other federal agencies to do that. We filed 2 lawsuits based on numbers that we've seen to date. And very soon, towards the end of this week, I'll be going to meet with my Mexican counterparts, Mexican attorneys general of various states there, to talk more about how we can cooperate to stop this, especially their kids being rented for $400 a day or whatever the amount is, so that they can act as human shields. That has to stop. And regardless of where you're at in this country, regardless of where you're at in this world, I think you have to be concerned.
All right, coming up, Indiana hits another record high at the gas pump. Should state leaders help cut the price by suspending gasoline taxes? That debate next on All Indiana Politics. Welcome back now to All Indiana Politics. We turn now to the price that you're paying to fill up your vehicle. Gas prices in Indiana soared to another record high this past week, all the way to an average of $4.42 per gallon on Friday. According to Gas Buddy, this latest spike has renewed calls from Democrats for the governor or state lawmakers to take immediate action to lower Indiana's state taxes on gasoline. And let's welcome in Democratic state lawmaker Greg Porter now. Representative Porter, good to see you. Thank you for joining us here on All Indiana Politics.
Oh, glad to be here with you today.
So you want the governor to act right now, you say, to suspend the state's gasoline and excise taxes. Why right now?
Right now, because Hoosiers are hurting right now. We proposed this back in March to suspend, put a moratorium on those taxes, and things are not any better. As a matter of fact, they've gotten worse. Gas prices are higher. Hoosiers are hurting, and we need to have the political will and the people will to suspend these or put a moratorium on these taxes.
How much money are we talking about? Is it enough to help families out?
Yeah, we do believe through our numbers that we've ran. If you look at gas prices, even about $5 a gallon, for an average about $12 gallons per car, they'll save 7 something per fill up on those cars. So we're looking at a significant amount of help for the people in the state of Indiana from this day forth and whenever he does it, for at least through the summer and through Labor Day.
Listen, with everything the way they are now, I think every little bit can help, and I think everyone can agree with that. So do you believe that he can do that without lawmaker approval?
It's a political will. Yes, he can. He says he needs to have that. Okay, if he feels he needs lawmaker approval, we're coming back in on the 24th. Deal with a social issue. I'm quite sure we're going to come back in and deal with another social issue later on this summer. Just bring us back and let us do our work. Now, he says, it has to be a crisis per se, but one must remember during the previous administration, the Trump administration, there was a emergency order in regards to public health. From my perspective, getting people to work, the work in hospitals, long-term care, physicians or whatever, to me, that is a public health, we still have a public health emergency at the national level. Right. Even though he suspended it here within Indiana, we can still address the needs of the people.
Now, this tax, as you very well know, set to have an automatic increase, July 1st. So I guess my question would be, should that provision at least be blocked?
Well, yes, I believe July 1st, there's another 1 cent that will be tacked on to gas prices, 2 cents for diesel. So here we are, and we have a surplus. Remember, we have about a $5 billion surplus, and the revenues for the state of Indiana are going higher. And we will be moving well north of $5 billion in the surplus. And to give this relief to Hoosiers will only cost about $437 million. That's if we decide to do it in regards to having that moratorium. If he doesn't want to do that, another alternative, and we just don't say just do it. We come with solutions, and another solution is to do with the automatic tax refund. Why not add another $100 to the $125 that we have for those individuals to help them also? So we have avenues to do that.
That actually was my next question. Is there anything else? I know you mentioned maybe a little bit more of a refund. Is there anything else, in your opinion, though, that the governor could do to help Hoosiers out?
Right. I think the governor, like, number one, we will give some solutions if it has some compromise to work across the aisle, that go from the third floor to the second floor if he wants that to happen. But from that perspective, if we have the automatic tax refund, why not add another $100 to that for a single person, or for those individuals that joining filing joint? That's another $200 something. So we're looking at those are solutions that we have for our governor.
Okay. So one more question before I let you go. Do you believe that Republican lawmakers will vote this week to overturn, as you very well know, Governor Holcomb's veto of the bill banning transgender girls from high school sports?
Do I believe that they will vote to override his veto?
Yeah.
I mean, most of them voted for it. A lot of us did not. So we sent it to him. I believe they will. That's another social issue. That's a problem, looking for a solution. That's a solution looking for a problem that we already have. ISHA has already addressed that, never had but maybe one, maybe two cases over last decade,
Right.
But yet still people feel like it is important to gin up some unnecessary ruckus.
Fair enough. Democratic state lawmaker Greg Porter, thank you very much for taking some time as always, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Now, we did get this statement from Governor Eric Holcomb. For an Indiana governor to suspend the gas tax through a declaration of an energy emergency, the state must have an existing or projected energy shortfall that would jeopardize life, health, and property. We have not met that threshold. We're going to talk gas prices and the Rokita interview with Indiana's best political team coming up next on All Indiana Politics. And welcome back to All Indiana Politics on this Sunday, as we welcome back two members of Indiana's best political team, Mario Masalamani, the Hamilton County Republican Party chairman, and Democrat Brian Gaddy. Good to see you both, gentlemen. I want to start with that interview with Todd Rokita. He says he believes the draft opinion in the abortion case would not be a threat to other rights, including gay marriage. Brian, let's start with you on this one, sir.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a businessman, but I will tell you, I really believe that we have a constitutional right to privacy. And when the Supreme Court, with this, even though it's not a ruling, the draft opinion, my concern is that you could actually they can not only overturn Roe v. Wade, there could be other rights that could be in jeopardy, like the marriage equality, contraceptive rights. There's just a lot of rights that could very well be in jeopardy if this ruling is passed down from the Supreme Court at the end of the term.
To Brian's point, Mario, does it set up a bad precedent?
I don't think so, Phil. Years ago, when this was originally came down, Roe v. Wade and even Casey, a lot of legal scholars were asking, where is the constitutional right? Where is it in the Constitution for this to be allowed? I am one of those people. I think that there is a justification for overturning Roe v. Wade. But just like Rokita said, I think that we need to wait and see what the opinion is before we make any sort of like rash judgments or some sort of doomsday that all of a sudden all our freedoms are now going to be gone by the wayside.
Well, some Republicans, though, Mario, are hoping that it does set up that precedent, no?
Say that again?
I said some Republicans, though, are hoping that this does set up that precedent.
Well, I think that it really depends on what it says, right? I think that what it's saying is that this is a states' rights issue, and each state should have the determination as if to allow for abortion to exist in their state, and to what extent that abortion should be allowed. So I think that if this is this draft opinion states that the Supreme Court does not have justification to make such a ruling, that it's a states' rights issue, then what it basically comes down to is that each state individually can determine if abortion should be allowed and to what extent abortion should be allowed within the citizens of that state.
Should the governor call an immediate special session, Mario, if the court strikes down Roe and sends the issue back to states, in your opinion?
Of course, because at that point, then our state legislature, along with our governor, should make a decision as to what the law should be. If there's a total ban, if there should be a ban after 8 weeks, if there should be a ban after 15 weeks. There's so many different laws, even currently around the country. And I think that if this comes down, depending on whatever the opinion is, there should be a special session to allow for the legislators who were elected by the citizens of Indiana to make a determination as to what the law should be for Indiana.
Brian, do you think there will be an immediate session if it's turned down?
I hope not. And again, I know Mario is saying that this is a states' rights issue, but at the same time, there were people that said that during the civil rights movement, when Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. King, and other civil rights activists marched for the civil rights I enjoy as an African American. There were people back then that said, "Oh, that's a states' rights issue. We shouldn't resolve these issues at the federal level. Let Mississippi or Georgia or Alabama decide if African Americans deserve civil rights or not." So I'm very concerned when I hear people positing an argument of states' rights as an African American. That really makes me very, very nervous and upset, to be quite blunt about it. I don't think abortion should be a states' rights issue. American women, regardless of where they live, in Massachusetts or Mississippi, have constitutional rights, and they do have a constitutional right to choice. And the Roe v. Wade has been the law of the land since 1973, and I thought we believe in stare decisis in the federal court system.
Well, we'll see what happens with that.
Apparently, my friend Mario does not.
Okay, we'll see what happens. I want to move on to gas taxes here. We already know the legislature, as you gentlemen very well know, will be back later this month. New numbers out Friday, though, show Indiana's budget surplus growing. Again, Mario, why not take action on the gas tax?
Well, what's the purpose, right? First, the governor, I don't believe, has authority to do that. Second, is it worth having a special session to allow for the tax to be vacated for a certain period of time? I think the bigger issue is the failure by the Democrats. They got rid of the Keystone Pipeline, which right now, if we would have been able to have the Keystone Pipeline, it would have allowed for us to maybe have some easing of prices. But our energy reliance on Russia and some of these terrorist countries have allowed us to be in this forced position. Instead of being energy reliant by having Keystone Pipeline, Democrats on a national level got rid of it, thinking that it was some sort of big play to the progressive movement. And now we're facing the issue of having to be reliant on countries like Russia, countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq to support us. And so I think suspending the gas tax is not the overall solution to this problem. Instead, it's energy reliance for the United States to be able to be reliant on our own ability to provide gas for its citizens.
To be fair, though, Mario, they did say that the Keystone Pipeline wouldn't impact gas prices for at least 8 years, no?
And most of the oil from the Keystone Pipeline would not be in the United States. It would be going overseas. So once again, my friend Mario's being totally disingenuous.
Mario, go ahead. Go ahead, respond.
Well, I disagree with that. Yes, it might take a number of years to complete. However, the problem is that we've shut it down. And now because we are in a crisis, Democrats want to suspend gas tax. They want to open up our reserves instead of trying to have a holistic approach, a long-term approach of being energy reliant or self-sufficient.
Brian, 30 seconds. If lawmakers don't act, should the governor do it on his own?
I think lawmakers should act and we should suspend the gas tax. And to Mario's point, most of the oil from the Keystone Pipeline would not be going into American gas tanks. It would not even be going into the United States. Most of that oil would be going overseas. And in fact, most of the oil we receive actually is not from Russia. We get a very small percentage of oil from Russia. In fact, we get more oil from Mexico than we do from Russia, and we really don't get any oil at all.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Well, if we got
so the point is that
I'm out of time, gentlemen. Good conversation as always. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. We'll talk soon. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Take All Indiana Politics on the go with you. Download our podcast now. Part of the All Indiana Podcast Network and allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
And thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics on this Sunday. We'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30. You can also find our brand new All Indiana Politics podcast. It's part of the All Indiana Podcast Network at wishtv.com.